My parents always preached hard work. Then my grandfather died and left them his $1 million estate. They gave everything to my unemployed 30-year-old brother who still lived at home. Me? I got 2 acres of rocky swampland. My dad laughed and said, maybe you can grow some weeds there. But when I hired a surveyor, I discovered something they'd overlooked. Their only driveway cuts through MY land, and there was no easement. Grandpa knew exactly what he was doing. If you've ever been the black sheep in a family that favored someone who did nothing, if you've ever been underestimated and dismissed, if you've ever wanted to see entitled people realize they're not as powerful as they think, this story is for you. Hit that like button. Subscribe for more inheritance justice tales, and comment. Have you ever been treated unfairly by family? Let's dive in. I need to tell you about my family, and about the day I realized my grandfather was a genius. Growing up, I was always the difficult one. Not because I caused trouble, because I asked questions. Why does Kyle get away with not doing chores? Why don't I get help with college applications when he got a tutor for his? The answer was always some variation of that's different or you're more capable. Translation: Kyle was a golden child, and I was expected to figure things out on my own. So I did. I worked through high school, saved money, got scholarships, moved out at 18 and never looked back, built a career in project management, bought my own place, created a life I was proud of. Kyle? Kyle was 30 years old and still living in our childhood bedroom. No job, no prospects. Spent his days gaming and his nights ordering DoorDash on my parents' credit card, and my parents enabled every second of it. He's going through a phase. My mom would say, he just needs time to find himself. My dad would add, 12 years. 12 years of finding himself. I barely spoke to them, maybe once every few months. Holidays if I felt obligated. Then Grandpa died. Grandpa Jack, my dad's father, tough old farmer who'd built everything from nothing. He owned 50 acres of prime farmland with a beautiful old farmhouse sitting in the middle of it. The property had been in our family for 3 generations, worth easily over $1 million. The funeral was on a gray Tuesday in March. I drove the 3 hours to the old hometown, sat in the back of the church, and avoided my family. After the service, the lawyer announced there would be a reading at the farmhouse that afternoon. I almost didn't go. I wasn't expecting anything. Grandpa and I hadn't been particularly close. He was my dad's father, and I distanced myself from that whole side of the family. But something made me stay. The reading was in Grandpa's study, dark wood paneling, the smell of old books and pipe tobacco. The lawyer sat at the desk, my parents on the couch. Kyle sprawled in an armchair, looking bored, me standing by the door. The lawyer cleared his throat and began reading. The bulk of the estate, the farmhouse and 48 acres of prime farmland, went to my parents, with a note that it was to be held in trust for the family's future. My mom squeezed my dad's hand. Kyle didn't even look up from his phone. Then the lawyer continued. To my granddaughter, I leave the remaining 2 acres, described as Parcel 247B, located at the northwest corner of the property. I blinked. 2 acres? My dad laughed. Actually laughed. The swamp land? He left to the swamp? The lawyer handed me an envelope. Inside was a deed and a handwritten note. Sometimes the smallest key opens the biggest door. Grandpa, I didn't understand. Well, my dad said, still chuckling, maybe you can grow some weeds there. It's rocky marshland. Completely useless. We tried to farm it 40 years ago. Nothing would grow. Kyle snorted. At least you got something. My mom gave me this pitying look. Maybe you could sell it for a few $1,000s? Put it toward vacation? I folded the deed carefully, put it in my bag, said nothing, because I was hurt, deeply hurt. Not because I expected a farmhouse. I'd made peace with not being a favorite long ago, but to be given actual swampland while my unemployed brother was set to inherit $1 million property, while my parents, who dismissed me my entire life, got everything. It felt like a final message. You don't matter. I left the reading, drove home, didn't talk to any of them for weeks. But that note kept bothering me. Sometimes the smallest key opens the biggest door. What did that mean? 2 months later, I decided to actually look at the land. I'd been avoiding it. Didn't want to see my inheritance. But curiosity got the better of me. I hired a surveyor. Just wanted to know the exact boundaries. See what I was working with. The surveyor was a guy named Tom, mid-50s, with 3 decades experience. We met at the property on a Saturday morning. "Which parcel are we surveying?" he asked. I showed him the deed. 247B. 2 acres at the northwest corner. He pulled up the county maps on his tablet, studied them, then started walking the property line with his equipment. I followed, stepping over rocks and marshy patches. My dad was right. It was pretty useless land. Too wet for farming, too rocky for building. Then Tom stopped. He was standing in the middle of the long gravel driveway that led from the county road to the farmhouse. He looked at his tablet, looked at the driveway, looked back at his tablet. Then he started laughing. "What?" I asked. "You see this driveway?" "Yeah. It cuts through your property. Right here." He showed me the map. The property line ran perpendicular to the driveway, and for about 100 feet, the driveway was solidly on my land. My heart started beating faster. What does that mean? It means that technically, this driveway, the only vehicle access from the county road to that farmhouse, crosses your property. But there must be an easement, right? A legal right-of-way. Tom checked the county records on his tablet, pulled up deed history, easement filings, everything. Nope, no recorded easement. Looks like decades ago, the county road was rerouted. The original access was different. When they built this driveway, it must have been all one property, so no easement was needed. But now, he grinned, now it's your land, and there's no legal right-of-way recorded. I stood there in the middle of that gravel driveway, pieces clicking together. Grandpa knew. He had to have known. He'd owned this land for 50 years. He knew every inch of it. He knew about the property lines, the road change, the access issue. Sometimes the smallest key opens the biggest door. He didn't leave me swampland. He left me leverage. I thanked Tom, paid him for his work, and got the official survey documents. Then I sat in my car for an hour, just thinking. My parents had the house and the prime farmland. But without access, what good was it? You can't get farm equipment in or out. Can't get delivery trucks. Can't even get your own car to the road. They were technically landlocked, and I controlled the only way in. I decided to be reasonable, to try the mature, adult approach first. I called my dad. "Hey, I was looking at that land Grandpa left me. I'd like to actually use it, maybe build a small cabin. But I need access to water and electricity. Any chance I could buy a small piece of good land? Just an acre or so?" His response was immediate. "No, Dad, I'd pay fair market value. That land is for Kyle's future. When we're gone, he'll need to be able to sell it or develop it. We can't have it chopped up." The answer is no. I'm just asking for her. The answer is no. You got what Grandpa left you. Be grateful for that. Don't come around trying to take what belongs to Kyle. He hung up. I called my mom. Tried a softer approach. "Mom, I want to build on my property, but I need some utilities. Could we work something out?" "Honey, your father's right. Kyle needs that land intact. You have a good job. You don't need this. Kyle's future depends on it." "What about my future?" "You're already successful. Kyle needs our help more." That night, I couldn't sleep. Lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. They dismissed me again. Put Kyle's hypothetical future above my actual present. I thought about Grandpa's note, and I made a decision. Monday morning, I called a fencing company. I need a gate installed. Heavy duty, lockable, across a driveway on my property. Can you do it this week? They could. Wednesday afternoon, while my parents were at a doctor's appointment, and Kyle was presumably asleep, the fencing company arrived at the property. We installed a 12-foot wide steel gate with a heavy-duty lock, right where the driveway crossed onto my land. It was beautiful, industrial, permanent. I put up a small sign, private property, no trespassing, parcel 247B. The installation took 3 hours. When it was done, I locked the gate and drove away. Thursday morning, my phone started ringing at 6:47 a.m. Kyle, I let it go to voicemail. He called again and again. Finally, I answered. What? There's a freaking gate across the driveway. I can't get out. I need to get food. The gate is on my property. What? That's insane. You can't just... It's my land, Kyle. Private property. Dad's going to kill you. He hung up. 3 minutes later, my dad called. What the hell is this gate? Good morning, Dad. That's a gate on my property. The driveway crosses my land, and I've decided to restrict access. You can't do that. We need that driveway. Then you should have been more cooperative when I asked to buy some land. This is illegal. I'm calling the police. Go ahead. He did. I was at work when the sheriff's deputy called me. Ma'am, I'm at 4750, County Road 12. Your father says you illegally blocked access to his property. The gate is on my property, officer. Parcel 247B. I can send you the survey documents and deed. Please do. I emailed everything. Survey, deed, title history, the works. 20 minutes later, the deputy called back. Ma'am, your documentation checks out. The gate is on your property. You have every right to control access. Thank you, officer. I could hear my dad yelling in the background. That's bullshit. She can't trap us here. The deputy's voice was patient but firm. Sir, she's not trapping you. You can walk out, but she owns the land the driveway crosses. Without an easement, you don't have a legal right to use it. More yelling. The deputy came back on the line. He wants to know what you want. Nothing right now. I just wanted to secure my property. Over the next week, they tried everything. My mom called crying. Please, honey, this is crazy. We can't live like this. I asked for a simple solution. You said no. Kyle tried the pity route. I have a job interview. I can't get there without the car. You have a job interview? That's great, Kyle. Maybe you should have thought about transportation before now. My dad tried threats. I'll sue you into oblivion. For what? Controlling access to my own property? Talk to your lawyer. See what he says. He did talk to a lawyer. The lawyer apparently told him the same thing. Without an easement, I had every legal right to gate my property. 2 weeks in, the situation got desperate. The septic tank needed pumping. The service truck couldn't get in. The propane delivery was due. The truck couldn't get in. They were running out of heating fuel in early spring, and the septic system was backing up. My dad called. His voice was different. Defeated. What do you want? I want what I asked for. 1 acre of usable land at fair market value, with utilities access. That's Kyle needs. Or you can figure out how to live in that house without vehicle access. Your choice. Silence. I need to talk to your mother. They called back 3 days later. They couldn't do it. Couldn't give me the land. Kyle's future was too important. So they made a different decision. They put the farmhouse up for sale. Without guaranteed access, it was a tough sell. But eventually, they found a buyer, someone willing to take the risk and potentially negotiate with me for an easement. The sale price was $750,000, less than market value due to the access issue. My lawyer sent their lawyer proposal. I would grant a permanent easement for access across my property in exchange for 50% of the sale proceeds. They had no choice. The house sold in July. I received a check for $375,000. My parents used their half to buy a small condo in a retirement community. Kyle got nothing because there was nothing left to give him. The new owners of the farmhouse were actually lovely people. A young couple wanted to farm sustainably. We negotiated a reasonable easement agreement. I granted them access in exchange for a one-time payment of $50,000. With the money from the sale and the easement, I had more than enough to build my cabin on the useless swampland. It's not swampy once you understand the hydrology. With proper drainage and some landscaping, it's actually beautiful. I built a small, modern cabin. Solar panels, well water, completely self-sufficient. It's my weekend retreat now. And every time I drive through my gate, which I open with a Y key, I think about Grandpa, about his note, about how he must have known exactly what would happen. He knew my parents would give everything to Kyle, knew they'd dismiss me, and he gave me the one thing that made all their inheritance worthless without my cooperation. He didn't leave me swampland. He left me power. Last month, Kyle sent me a friend request on Facebook. I ignored it. My mom texts occasionally. Awkward messages about wanting to rebuild our relationship. I reply politely, briefly, but I don't visit. My dad hasn't contacted me at all. And that's fine, because I learned something from all this. Family isn't about who you're related to. It's about who respects you. Grandpa respected me, even if he never said it. Even if I didn't realize it until after he was gone. He gave me the smallest piece of land, and it opened the biggest door. 3 years later, I have my cabin, my peace, and $500,000 from people who thought I'd never amount to anything. Grandpa knew exactly what he was doing. So here's my question. Do you think I went too far? Should I have just accepted the useless land? Or did my parents and brother get exactly what they deserved? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like button if you believe in poetic justice. And subscribe for more stories of the underestimated coming out on top. Remember, sometimes the smallest key opens the biggest door.